Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's not just what's inside your home that matters. It's who you share it with. That's why we work even harder to protect it. And as a mutual insurance company, we're built for our customers. We prioritize your needs and are here for you when you need us. Amica, empathy is our best policy. Call 877-41-AMICA for a free coverage review.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Did you know that Game Pass or Pass is brought to you for free because of Spotify for podcasters? It's a totally free platform, and you can make a podcast today for free. Spotify for podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are heard. And if you're thinking about taking your podcast to the next level with a video podcast, Spotify can help you too. With Spotify for podcasters, you can also earn money in a variety of ways that includes ads and podcast subscriptions. So what are you waiting for? Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcast to get started right now.
Finally time for a very cyberpunk edition of Game Pass or Pass, the podcast where we play games on Microsoft's Game Pass service, tell you which games to pass on to your friends and which games to simply pass on by using that pop filter. I am Corey. I am joined by the cyberpunk, no, I can do better, by the mechanical legs and green mohawked man himself, Basher.
I'm so glad to be doing this episode finally. I finally get to talk about my favorite actor, Keanu Reeves. He's my favorite actor since Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure Part 2.
What's his name? Johnny something? In that game?
Johnny Mnemonic.
John, sure, maybe. We are not here to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. We're here to talk about the Ascent. That is what we do on this podcast. And you know what we also do? We forget to bring up the notes, and we forget to bring up the phone number that you can call if you want to talk about the Ascent. So, look, I'm going to I'm going to fill this air by saying you have no idea what we have gone through to bring you this episode. People don't understand sometimes the trials and the tribulation that we go through.
The time, the effort, hundreds of dollars. Hundreds. Well, maybe like $115 total.
Honestly,
hundreds.
I got a really good deal on my setup, and I have not seen that deal since. That was like 7 years ago. So clearly I did all right. So we're good. We're good. If you want to talk about the Ascent, did you know you can call us at 574-651-9256? Leave us a voicemail or shoot us a text message. You can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the Ascent. Here's the details on this game. Developed by Neon Giant, regularly priced at $29.99, is an isometric cyberpunk RPG. Available on Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. There is crossplay, there is cloud saves, but there is no DLC, which actually might be a good thing. So yes, you can play on PC, all your saves will transfer, but also if you're just playing on PC and you got some friends on Xbox, guess what? You can play together, no questions asked. But speaking of questions, how do we feel about the Ascent?
Right off the bat, I was very I remember when you first brought this game up as something we should be playing. I thought, why is this being hyped? Why do we care? It didn't look all that great to me from the screenshots or what have you. But I'm like, nature of the game. Let's not judge a book by its cover,
See, I kind of felt the opposite. Like, maybe it's just because, look, I am always searching for the next Diablo. Look, nothing.
I see that.
Nothing has ever come. Torchlight is the closest thing that's probably ever come in the same realm as Diablo.
Torchlight 2 is good business.
It is, but
very good business.
But it still doesn't hit the same way Diablo does. It just doesn't. I don't know what. Even Diablo 3, the one that people hate, that 25 million people bought. Something about Diablo just hits different. No one has conquered that feel. And I'm not saying you have to be Diablo, but I still just have not gotten the enjoyment and the time out of any other action RPG than Diablo. But that being said, I knew going into this it wasn't going to be the next Diablo, but I was interested in it because I think it looked really cool. It looked smooth, but it looked like they paid attention to what they were doing and they put in the time and the work. So very good trailers, but I was not hyped up, but I was definitely like, no, I want to check this out because I want to see what this is about.
That sounds very accurate to how things went down. I remember watching the same thing having again the exact opposite opinion of, I don't get it. Like this, it doesn't look all that special to me. Funny enough, though, when I first start playing it, though, I instantly went, "Oh, I like this." Like I'm a guy who fancies himself a cyberpunk enthusiast. I'm a sucker for some Blade Runner music and aesthetics. I think it always grabs. It's the easiest thing to grab me, However, upon hour 1 of this game, maybe even less than, I realized very quickly that's kind of all this game has going for it is aesthetics. And
I have discovered with this game, and there's been other games, like there is a Cyberpunk. I have played Cyberpunk 2077. I've seen the original Blade Runner, but I do not. Wait, is Tron? Tron is not Cyberpunk, right?
That is not Cyberpunk.
Okay.
You're a fool.
That's what I thought.
Fool to even suggest it.
It just, I don't know. I get similar vibes off of it. Come at me.
You're wrong.
I get similar vibes. I'm sorry. Like, it's got the fancy color. My point is this is the game that finally I think it hit me. I was like, man, I just don't care about Cyberpunk. Like, the setting just does absolute zero for me. Absolutely zero. That being said, I don't think it's I don't think that would stop me from enjoying a game that is cyberpunk in nature. But there really isn't one. Like, well, let me rephrase it. There's not one that lived up to the hype. Let's say
that. You're not wrong there. I mean, because it's always like video game properties that do cyberpunk, and they're always fine, I guess. But I guess the cyberpunk never. Because the thing about cyberpunk is that the city, the setting is something that really truly breathes and becomes its own character, and that's something that's I'm finding that's very hard to do in a video game setting. And I guess that's partially just because the only games that really do living, breathing cities well is Rockstar games, and who has Rockstar team and money behind them,
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I want to give it some credit there. I want to give a lot of credit there, actually. I think aesthetic wise, this is, I would go as far as saying phenomenal for me.
Yeah,
I think the attention to detail is superb. It like the grittiness, the neon signs, the just the sort of city future decay. Just I think a lot of time, effort, and skill went into just the overall look of this game.
No, I'd agree with that. It's very striking. You feel like you're a part of that world, like, and it does a very good job of panning the camera in the right moments. When you go to a certain area, it kind of pulls the camera back and lets you sort of take it all in. It's very Final Fantasy in that way to me, or more 3D Final Fantasies of, you walk into a new area and it's like, hey, we're going to give you a quick little whoosh over the city so you can just see where you are and kind of take it in. And that's cool. Like, that is a really cool thing. I'm bored by it. But again, I fully understand why people enjoy it. But so when that sort of happened, I was like, okay, man, I just don't care about Cyberpunk. And then I start playing the game, and I've never wanted to like a game nearly as much as I've wanted to like this game. And I don't like any part of it. Like,
listen, man, it's not you, it's so the very first thing that threw me off in this game was the actual gameplay itself. This is a twin stick shooter.
Is it though?
It's a single twin stick shooter.
Right.
Like, you shoot with one. I guess you aim and shoot with your controller sticks, but it doesn't have the smoothness and the snappiness and responsiveness of a twin stick shooter. It also doesn't have the methodical pacing, thoughtful actions of an RPG. It almost tries to. It doesn't try to marry the two, but the overall setting and the type of game it is an RPG. So you're thinking you kind of want to go that route with the combat, but instead they said, let's just go full blown action with it. Make this twin stick shooter light with like certain grenades and augments to your body and stuff that gives you certain other abilities and skills. You have a dodge button. Like, it feels very much like your basic twin stick shooter, but I think that's where it starts to lose me. It's not as good as your basic twin stick shooter.
And I really struggle to call it a twin stick shooter. Like, I just, yes, you use both sticks, but you still have to sort of press the button to shoot. And I know that, like, that seems kind of pedantic and just like, oh yeah, but it's just, there is a disconnect. Like, when I think of a twin stick shooter, I have the finesse of that right stick. I can dial it in very well. And this game is, I think there's potential for it there, but because of the RPG elements and the way that it sort of plays, it gives you different weapon types. Like, you've got different pistols and different machine guns and auto rifles and shotguns and stuff like that. Because of that, most twin stick shooters, you don't really have a ton of different types of ammunition, but your basic one is usually something that's very precise and easy to control. And you don't ever really get that in this game. Maybe the pistol, you could kind of say that's kind of your basic weapon, and maybe when it's upgraded and stuff, it does damage, but I got rid of that pistol pretty quick because it felt pretty pointless. And if I got an SMG and a shotgun, and that's kind of what I used for a long time because it made the most sense. It lacks that finesse that you get from a twin stick shooter, and I think part of it really is because you've got that third element of you've got to move, you've got to shoot, or you've got to aim, and then you also have to shoot. It's a little thing that sort of breaks a lot of the twin stick shooterness in my brain. But on top of that, I just don't think it does the RPG or the action bits well. I think it tries to do both, and I don't think it really succeeds in either one.
Oh, I completely agree with that. It's at one point before the game was released, I think you referred to this as a looter shooter.
Right.
At one point.
Yeah.
And
I think they did. I don't know if that's true or not, but at one point I think they called it that, or someone called it like Cyberpunk Diablo, and I don't think they ever corrected them.
Someone needs to,
right.
desperately, because it is not that at all. Like I get a sense of this game was something else completely different, and then they said let's ramp up the action above everything else, because it's not a looter shooter, it's not Diablo. There's no real loot to think about in this game. There's only, so I ended up completing this game actually, and I can honestly say I came across maybe 20 to 25 different weapons.
Well, and it's weird because it's not, while there is loot, it's not loot in the way that you think it is. Like the same weapon drops over and over.
Right.
Yeah, with no stat differences or anything. There's none of that. There's no rolls. There's nothing. There's not legendaries. There's not rares. There's none of that stuff. You drop the same loot over and over, and you sort of pick your poison of, well, I want to be efficient in this, and so I can keep upgrading this weapon. But it ends up being really weird because you'll literally have like 24 of the same weapon, and you go to the guy to sell your stuff, and it's just like, sell all. It's like, do you really want to sell all? Because then you won't have any. And it's like, well, then wait a minute. Why are you giving me that? Like, there's a lot of weird things like that. And like you said, it's not really just because you pick it up off the ground, does that make it a looter shooter? I guess, like
that it does not, sir. It does.
I mean, that's about the only thing it does in terms of a looter shooter. Like,
I was very confused. I mean, and then when you talk about the RPG aspects of it, leveling up these guns is simply a case of finding in the wild certain upgraded material, and then just saying, I want this gun to shoot harder.
Right.
and
right. The numbers go up like that. You know, you don't really play the game any differently. You're sort of always playing. I mean, if you switch up your weapons, and yeah, you're playing it differently. And there are different augmentations and skills and stuff like that. But I think because we're going to talk about this a little bit later, I think too, because we got some comments and stuff we're going to read. But like, I am very much a gameplay first person.
Absolutely. Same here.
And so when the game is slow, there better be a good reason. And that's not for me saying like every game needs to be Doom Eternal. No. Like I can play a slower game, but it's got to have a flow to it. Like I can play a XCOM or a what's the name of the Mario one? Mario Rabbids, you know, like I can play those games and they're very slow, and that's fine because they make sense in the realm of what they're in. But this is supposed to be an action RPG, and like my basic grenade and my shockwave punch, which is like the first thing that you get, like they've got some like 2-minute cooldowns on them, and that's not, I don't say that's not acceptable. Like it's fine but it makes them feel very like they don't do enough damage to have a 2-minute cooldown. I don't feel powerful. I don't feel like I'm progressing as a character. It's like every once in a while I get a grenade, and every once in a while I get this shockwave punch, which doesn't kill instantly or anything like it. So it's just weird. And that's sort of just where it loses me. It's just like I feel like none of these systems are coming together, and the UI is utterly terrible.
Ugly.
Like,
it's ugly.
It's so bad.
Ugly.
So bad.
I will say that in midway through the game, you start getting better augmentations, better skills, as you expectedly do with any video game. Like you get the bigger, better weapons or augmentations and whatnot. For example, I was running the augmentations where I would mark enemies, so when they die, they would explode. And then on top of that, I would have the mechanical spiders that would go out and explode onto people. So it was a nice 1-2 punch. It was flashy. It got the job done. And then when you upgrade your character well enough, again, that's expected. Those cooldowns cool down. But again, to your point though, it's not to a point where like a good RPG, to me anyway, is one where you start off killing little goblins or something with your wooden sword, and then by the end you're dropping meteors from the sky. Like it is a heck of a progression. That's not here. It is a very slow, methodical progression, and you never truly feel like you've gone anywhere as a character. And you definitely don't feel like you've done anything character-wise that he, she, or they didn't do differently. Like you end up in the same place the same way, roughly the same time.
And is that a problem though? Like, I don't.
When I think it is when we're doing with RPGs, and it's like you said, RPG. There are role playing games, and then there are games where the numbers go up. This is the game where the numbers go up.
Right, and that's kind of the Destiny problem that I have. Destiny is a RPG shooter, and it's just like my hunter is the same hunter as everyone else's, and even now when you literally log into the game, it just gives you all the skills. like you don't really level up the traditional way anymore. It's just like pick your skill tree, and it's like, do you want to have flames or purple waves? And it's like, okay, I guess I'll go with the purple waves. Like this guy's got the flame, and he's doing kind of the same thing, and it's just that's not fun to me. That's not an RPG. That's just I don't know, but I like you am looking for. I want to start and I want to feel real progression. And I felt none of that in this game. Like the numbers were going up, but I didn't feel any different. I didn't feel like I was playing any different. Granted, you finished it. I did not, full disclosure, but like I have zero desire to. It takes a lot for a game to truly just break me, and that I just have no desire to keep playing. And I think that has to be said of why I'm just kind of like, man, I just did not. Nothing about this was great. And one thing that really, really bugged me is the game is...
I know you're going with this.
The missions and the side quests, like, did nobody play test this? Because it's like, hey, here's a side quest. You got to be level 2. I'm like, oh, I'm level 4. Cool. I guess I'll go do this side quest. And I get there, and it's like, oh, well, you don't have the thing to open this door. And I'm like, all right, I guess. So I keep playing the game, and so I'm like level 8 or 9 by the time I finally get the thing, which was during the main quest. And I'm like, all right, finally I can go through this door. I'm going to go through this door. And it's like, oh, well, to get to the thing, you got to go through this other area that's full of, we're not going to tell you what level, because we're just going to put skulls everywhere, which means basically like you shouldn't be here. And I'm like, okay, so how is this a level 2 quest? Like, there's nothing about this quest that is level 2. So kindly explain that to me. And the thing is, there's a lot of that. There is a
everywhere.
lot of that. Of like,
everywhere.
Hey, you should go here. Oh, you really shouldn't be here yet. I just drives me up a wall. Like,
no, absolutely. It's every time you enter a new area, a new city, if you will, they throw all the quests at you, and it's like you said, like some of these quests are for level 2, some of these are for level 22. And it's like, well, I shouldn't be able to access those yet. Then should I? Like, they didn't think the progression system all the way through. And one thing that, I mean, that's bad enough, is to get from point A to point B and realize you're not supposed to be here. The biggest issue with that is you have to walk sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to walk sometimes. We're talking like in real world, 2-3 minute walks straight of this, not a good sprint, not a cool hoverboard action thing, nothing. You're just like a slow stroll for 2-3 minutes at a time, getting to point A to point B, just to find out you're not supposed to be here. And then it's like, so how do you get back to where you want to go?
You better walk.
Another right. 2-3 minute walk.
And eventually they do have like a fast travel system, the cabs and the trains. Full disclosure, don't really know the difference between them. I think you can just call the cab whenever you want. Am I right on that? I don't.
You can call the cab whenever you want from certain locations. Some locations,
and it only takes you to certain locations.
Exactly. So like a lot of times, what I found out hours into the game, because it's not explained, is that, and someone might need to correct me if I'm wrong, but you would have to often, very, very often, at least I had to, take the cab from one location to another location just so I could take the train from one location to a different location.
See, and
because the train doesn't go where the cab is.
Right, and that would make sense why they're both there. That was kind of my first question. Is like, why are these both here? Like, they both do the same thing? Question mark. Like, I was super confused about that, but I guess that makes more sense if the train goes certain way. Like, that's one of those world things. It's just like they probably think that's cool because it's realistic in some ways, but at that point it's like, bro, it's a video game. Like, I don't want to say get over yourself, because I don't think they're pretentious or anything, but I think that's one of those things on paper probably sounded way cooler than it really is. And
no, I think it is in practice cool. I think the execution is what sucks, because how do you know how to get to... They forgot as developers that we didn't develop this game. We don't know what the map layout is. So, like, if I'm asking you to get from the Warrens to the Barrens, that means nothing to you.
Right.
Because you don't live here.
Right.
But if you lived in that world, you can say, like, oh, I got to take the cab to the Metro District, and then from the Metro District, I can get to the Barrens. Like, that makes sense. But if you're not, we're, as gamers, not from here. So, like, if there was part of the map that was sort of like a subway map, if you will, like you have in cities, like actual cities here, it'd be like, oh, that's neat to me. That actually brings me into the game a bit more, because like, I want to get from here to there, so I want to take this tram to this cab, and I can walk this way. I feel like I'm. To me, that is role playing gameplay that engrosses me to the game, whereas this doesn't tell you how to get to these places. So unless you're taking real close note of what you're doing and where you're going, like I've blindly taken cabs to 4 or 5 different locations to go, okay, finally, this is where I want it to be.
Fair point. I think that I was just so far just like gone at that point of just like, I don't want to be a part of this world. Like, that sounds very emo. But no, like, that was just kind of I was just kind of done at that point. And so I think in my brain, I'm like, just be a video game kind of thing. And my last piece is like the whole aiming over cover thing as well. How do you introduce that with enemies that you can't hit while aiming over cover?
And how do you know if enemies you can't hit? Like, because some enemies, like the enemies you can't hit while aiming over cover, you wouldn't know until they're already on top of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why is the little aim over thing? I don't know. Something felt wrong. I wanted to like the game, like I really did, because I felt like there was something here, but it's just not clicking for me. I think that some people will enjoy this game, but I think they're going to enjoy strictly the setting and the potential of the world, and they could live in it and explore it and have a good time. But I genuinely feel like the gameplay of this game it's not broken. It's just not, it's not play tested. It's not polished. It's not fun to play. And with me being a gameplay first person, I think that's where it's just a complete swing and a miss for me.
I was super disappointed. I didn't have a lot of hype for this game at all. Like, again, like when people were talking about this game, I looked at it like, why are you talking about this game? Like, it doesn't look like anything special. By the end of it, I was actually disappointed because it wasn't something special. By the end of it, for me, I felt like this could have been, honestly, this could have been as good as a adventure game like Disco Elysium, because of just in terms of the world building, the setting, the attention to detail, like everything in the world of this game is so well done, so well crafted. I feel like if they focus on less, how can we appeal to a certain kind of action gamer, and just focus on more of the RPG elements, more of the character building, more of the world building, more of the just make it a walking, talking adventure game where you could talk to everybody and everyone has something to say, something to do. I think that would have made this game for me a whole lot better. But trying to marriage this idea of a twin stick shooter and with these Deus Ex type abilities and he's just in this terrible just numbers go up RPG system, that's where it just dropped the ball. Like in again, to compare what you said, just in terms of pure gameplay, that's where you dropped the ball, and that's the reason I just really got real disappointed from this game.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say when it comes to the Ascent, we say pass on it. And on that note, the episode is technically over, but we did have a review that I wanted to talk about, and it sort of ties into this discussion.
Actually, before you move on, I do want to say one more good thing about this game. I really enjoyed the music.
Yes, I can attest to that as well.
I was a big fan of music.
Yeah, that was from the moment I turned it on. It has weird like sound modes too. Like I am someone that instantly when I turn on a game, I go to options just to like make sure that I'm getting the right video settings and the right audio settings, because so many games for whatever reason will be like, what kind of speakers do you have? TV or home theater? And it's just like, you can't detect that. Like I'm running a true Dolby Atmos setup on my Xbox and you want to default to TV, whatever. But so yeah, no, and it's got like a sound mode to where you can amplify all the effects, which is really cool if you're using like a headset. So yeah, but no, they clearly get audio. That is for certain.
Yeah, I didn't want to derail you about that. It's just like that was a standout thing for me in terms of just environment and just again, some good things here, a lot of good things here.
Exactly. So. And the reason I want to talk about this review is because we've talked about this before, but it's been a long time, and it sort of kind of pulls into the philosophy of this podcast and sort of like the way that reviews are handled. So this review, and I want to talk about this for a while, as this actually came in at the end of June, but we've been having tons of recording issues and timing hasn't come together, and hopefully that's all fixed now. But so we had a review from Ringo McCartney, and he says, I've enjoyed a lot of games you guys have passed on, crying face, and like laughing, but I still enjoy listening to your guys' discussion. Great podcast. First off, thank you for I think you get it. And I always appreciate someone taking their time to sort of not only leave a review, but to explain, hey, I like your guys' opinion, even though if I don't agree with it. And I think that's important because the modern landscape of video game reviews is one that it's weird, right? Because of stuff like Game Pass, and that barrier of entry is so much lower than it used to be. Something like the Ascent that normally costs $30 might not seem like a lot, but the fact that there is a barrier that is much bigger than $15 changes things. But you also have stuff like Halo Infinite going free to play, and the campaign will be free. But Game Pass in general sort of changed a lot for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, of giving a game a shot. And what's the word I want to say? The fact that you have enjoyed a lot of games that we have passed on, I think is important, because we've said it before, but just because we pass on a game doesn't mean that we think it's a bad game. It's simply a time and barrier to entry kind of thing. If I have 5 pizzas in front of me, I only want the best pizza, right? Like I only have so much time. I can only eat so much, etc. I don't know why I always go to pizza.
I was just thinking now, like another pizza like metaphor. This is.
And so a game that comes to mind is Gears Tactics. Like we passed on that game, and I think a lot of people we had a few comments of being like, well, how could you pass on that game? Like, it looks amazing. It runs great. And I agree with you. Like, I don't think it's a bad game, but when we were done playing it, I was kind of let down by it. Like, I did not regret spending my time with it the way I have other games, but I don't think I could sit there and be like, look, if you like XCOM or even if you like Gears, I'm not saying you won't have a good time. I'm saying that I think you could spend your time better elsewhere. And I think that's a very important thing, because us saying that thumbs down on a game, again, just doesn't mean that we don't like it.
No, absolutely. I agree with everything you just said there. I mean, just the name of the show, the nature of the show, pass or pass. This is not a out of 10. It's kind of good. It's all right. You know, like you like the gimmick, if you will, of the show is: are we playing it or are we not playing it? It's as simple as that. And I think the most important thing you touched on was the idea of, with us talking about Game Pass specifically, and the cost no longer being an issue. That's so the cost of the game is out the window. So now what we're judging the game on is it worth your time? Time is now the most important aspect of playing these games. We have a service here that touts, we have thousands and thousands of video games to play. Okay, but which one of these are worth your time? And that's sort of what I like to think about when I say, if you're going to pass on this game, pass on to a friend. Is this something that you should sit down and play for 4 hours? You know, like if it's a Gears Tactics, for example, like, is that something? Sure, you like you like an XCOM and whatnot, but I know I didn't finish it. You didn't finish it. Is this a game is this something you really want to sit down and play? Or is this something I want to recommend you play for 3-4 hours just to not complete it, just to not feel fulfilled by it? And that doesn't mean the game's bad at all. I think I would agree with the commenter, actually. We passed on a bunch of games that I genuinely liked, but I know, like, at the same time, that doesn't make it a passable game. That doesn't make a game that you in turn should play, that you in turn should spend your weekend playing, your nights playing. I think there might be better games in the genre, better games on the platform, on the service rather, that you could be playing. Right,
and that's to sort of tie that back into there is sort of a bias on this show a little bit, in that we are gameplay first people. And honestly, like, I've always been a gameplay first, but I think as time has gone on, I think you and I have sort of, I don't want to say gelled, but like, I think our tastes have just sort of aligned a little bit more, which makes it, we don't always have discussions to where we're debating. A lot of times we're sort of confirming each other's issues, or whatever you want to call them, or biases, or whatever. And so, but every once in a while we do have a genuine debate, about, like, I think this game's good, I think this game's bad. Like, Outriders was one that we ended up talking a lot of time about. So those are the episodes I think are always going to be the most fun. But at the same time, this really isn't, again, this is about a time thing. And that is sort of, in not just games, but in media in general. Like, there are so many streaming services and so many different shows. And it's like, I have that what's the word I'm looking for? That anxiety or option shock when it comes to streaming services and what to watch. I am that person. I will end up watching the same show I've seen 100 times simply because I just don't know what to watch when there's so many options. And modern critics and modern reviews is just like, everything is good. And a lot of times the stuff that they say is bad, I end up going to watch and end up liking it. So it's like, you really do have to kind of make your own opinion now, because it's not as clear, especially in video games. Like, you have stuff like Metacritic that takes the average score, and it's like, but they never really put in the aspect of value and time. And it's always just like, we're going to grade this game. And it's like, that's fine. And it might help you get a general consensus on what people are saying, but it really doesn't help you with some of those key aspects, which I think is, for a majority of people, is time and worth. Like, Destiny 2 is another great example to where people play that game for hundreds of hours. But there's a lot of people that don't, and they don't for the exact same reason that we don't. It's just like, I am grinding this over and over and over, and I am someone who has played Diablo 2 for literally a chunk of my life, grinding that game. And I understand why people do that, but I can't recommend that to a lot of people. Like,
right.
And it's, so when the grind needs to be like, I actually think that the grind in Diablo 3 is far better for the most players in Diablo 2. And that's one reason why so many people hated it at first, because it almost dumbed it down in terms of saying, like, you can still grind it out, but you don't have to grind out literally hundreds of hours anymore to get the thing. I think that's a good thing. I understand why some people like it's like almost like sinful to even like discuss that. Like, why do I need to play 30 hours of Destiny 2 to get this one exotic weapon? Just let me play for an hour and get the exotic weapon. Like, I'm much more likely to play your game if you make it more accessible. And that doesn't mean it has to be easier just in terms of what you're doing, but I don't need to grind. Everything doesn't need to be a grind. And when you push all this stuff together, and then you also, now you have Game Pass on top of it, where the barrier of entry to the game is much lower. Like, it's just a very interesting set of experiences that you can pick, basically. So, and I would venture to say that I think a lot of people are like us in that they just want to play something that's good. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest and the best, but they want their time to be respected. And that's the same way I feel about TV shows, and it's the same way I feel about movies. It's just like, I want my time to be valued. And that's why I think I tend to gravitate towards movies and games than TV shows, is simply because TV shows, it's like, hey, you got to watch this whole season and you might get some enjoyment out of it. And it's like, that's 12 hours. Like, I don't want to give you 12 hours. So,
no, I mean, that's the fantastic point to tie it into games. It's like, our recommendations here are so kind of time based, where it's almost as if there's a series, I don't like One Piece, the anime, you know, like that starts to get good by episode. You start to get it by episode about, I don't know, 137.
Right.
And it's probably the greatest piece of like media I've ever seen. But I'm not going to recommend that to anybody, or not anybody, but to most people, because that's a long time investment. And then another thing you touched on that I think is important is the nature of this show isn't to score a game out of like Metacritic, to score a game out of 10 out of 5, to give it a number, to give it a grade, because to that point, anything over a 60 is passing.
Right. And that's,
anything over a 60 is good. 70 is really good. 80 is great. So like, if we were to do that in this podcast, it wouldn't be Game Pass or Pass. It'd just be play all these games, because they're all pretty much fine.
Right. And that,
you know,
and that's a positive thing in terms of, I'm sure, in Microsoft's eyes, of like, we have all these high quality games, but what does high quality mean? And that's sort of the question of the show. It's just like, Gears Tactics is well made. Like, it's a beautiful game, but it's a game that's just like, man, like, is it a great, it's trying to emulate and sort of take Gears and twist it around into, form it into an XCOM style game. And I actually think it does it fairly well. But at the end of the day, as a Gears fan and an XCOM fan, I didn't finish it. Like, that says something to me. I've finished every Gears of War game minus Tactics multiple times, and I couldn't get through Gears Tactics. And I've played both the XCOM games and the Kingdom Rabbids, whatever it's called, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I finished that game as well. So it's like, there's something about Gears Tactics that's not clicking with me. And I think it's important to say that, yeah, like, I'm a fan of both these things, and I don't think it's not a peanut butter and jelly style relationship. So
no, it's really not. I think the most important thing, and again, I appreciate the comment. The comment is well thought out. I think the most important thing in any, not just this podcast, but any review, is is the review. It's not the end score. I mean, like famously, there was an IGN review where they just dogged. I think they dogged the game. They ended up giving it like a 7.5. I forgot what game it was. Could have been any game.
Pokemon. Really. There's the Pokemon review.
Probably.
Is it too much water?
Yeah, and then it just ended up giving like a huge score or something because it's Pokemon. But I mean, the most important thing is the discussion. I feel like.
Like on that note, they gave there's two things that people love to bring up about IGN is Skyward Sword because they gave it a 10, and then Pokemon. I think it was Diamond and Pearl, and they gave it like a 7 because it said too much water. But in actuality, like there is too much water in that game. Like as a Pokemon player, I specifically remember playing those games. Like, why am I surfing all the time? Like, holy crap! Like, it's a very dumb thing to just look at that and be like, too much water. But it actually makes sense in the context. And to your point, if you read the review and you've played that game, you actually understand it. But again, I understand it's also very easy to point at it and be like, look how stupid this is. Probably should have elaborated on that thought, but it was a very simple pros and cons list. But people love to just go look at those scores and not the actual context of the review. And whoever gave Skyward Sword a 10 needs to be slapped. That's just fact.
and I think another thing is the fact that we're not avoiding the scores. I think alleviates part of the issue I have, or used to have rather, when I used to run a website and write reviews and do the whole nine, trying to emulate gaming critics back in the day, where I would honestly be like, oh, I can't give this game an 8 because I give this game a 7.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
because I think we've all, anyone that's wrote professionally, whether it was big time, small time, we've all dabbled with like, man, like, what if we just didn't put a score on things?
Yeah. Like,
but you can't score. But you can't, because unfortunately, like, so many people just want the score. Like, you know, if you get your review on Metacritic, I remember when I wrote a review for Nex Machina, and it ended up being one of my biggest review scores, or one of my biggest reviews, because simply I had a score on it that was higher than most people, and someone picked it up. I don't remember what site it did, and was like, yeah, look, like this place put a 9 on it, therefore it's good. And it's like, if I didn't have literally that 9 on it, I would not have gotten nearly as many views and just fervor around it. And like, so it's like, you almost have to, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Which is why I appreciate this podcast, in the sense that we don't feel the need to do that. And which makes it, to the commenter's point, it makes it sound a bit harsh when we're like, pass on this one. Nope. It is like, we may pass on that game, but listen to the review, listen to the audio, and we might describe a game that you genuinely like, that you genuinely want to play, but we don't want to pass it on. In which case, you should for sure play it.
Right.
Like,
right.
This, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is definitely not skip to the end and say, all right, well, they didn't like it, so I'm not going to like it. Like, no, like, you know your own sensibilities. If we don't like it, that might help you know that you actually do like it.
Right. And in a perfect world, we would disagree on every game. Because then we could really have a discussion and go from there. But that's why I think, you know, stuff like our Game of the Year episodes end up being the most fun, because we never usually, like, we agree what should be in there, but we don't usually agree on what should win. And so those end up being a lot of fun for that reason. So again, in a perfect world, it would be great, but it's not always going to be that way. So is what it is. But I just want to call that comment out, and because again, we haven't really talked about this in a long time. Probably since, you know, like mid last year. So it's probably been about a year, maybe longer, since we sort of, because we do have new listeners, you know, so if you're listening this whole time, appreciate it for staying after for a little ramble there. So, all right, let's wrap this episode up. You can give us a call, 574-651-9256. You can leave a voicemail or a text message there. We will talk about it, read it on the air, etc., etc. gpopfans@gmail.com. Coming up, we're going to be doing, I've already forgot the name of the game, so maybe that's a bad indication, or I'm a bad host. So I'm going to pull up this Xbox Game Pass. We're going to just see what it's in here. Is there anything on this list that you were looking forward to?
Oh, the one you just sent.
Curse of the Dead Gods. That's what we're going to be talking about next. I always want to call it the Day of Gods, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about Curse of the Dead Gods. But are you referring to the list of games that are soon to be released?
Yep, that one as well.
The kid in me is excited to go back to some Need for Speed. I've not played one in years, but I remember Hot Pursuit being very fond memories. Psychonauts 2, I'm very interested in.
Yeah,
and Humankind. I want to
really
jump into.
I really want Psychonauts 2 to be good.
It's not going to be that great.
Oh my God, I hope you're wrong, but I'm looking forward to Psychonauts. Recompile is a Metroidvania that I know very little about. It was on my radar a while ago, and it sort of just fell off the face of the earth. And 12 Minutes is actually a game I'm really looking forward to. 12 Minutes is a game I think is right up my alley in terms of what I want from sort of mystery adventure games. So Humankind I've heard about. Unfortunately, I still don't know if I have a PC that can play it, but I will sure try. So what about that Myst remake, huh?
The Myst remake?
Yeah, the Myst remake. They just announced it's coming to Game Pass day one.
A Myst remake? That seems
like it's a full-on remake.
That's going to be interesting.
Right.
Well, gamers nowadays appreciate a Myst.
That's a good question.
I absolutely doubt it.
But you will have to tune in if we ever do an episode on that to find out. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Game Pass or Pass. We will see you next time with, already forgot the name again. What's
Curse of the Dead Gods.
Curse of, not Day of the Dead Gods, Curse of the Dead Gods.
Also, it's not called Metrovania, it's called Search Action now.
Pathfinder.
Wrong.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's not just about where you're going, but who you go with. That's why we work even harder to protect what matters most. And as a mutual insurance company, we're built for our customers and prioritize your needs. Amica, empathy is our best policy. Visit amica.com and get a quote today.